Welcome to Mirror Domains and happy Canada Day, everybody. Yes, here in Canada, it's, Canada Day. So this is a big show today on Mirror Domains Movie News. We'll be going over the top movies of 2024. Thus far, the mid-year report. Yes, we're 6 months in, halfway through the year, and I've seen about 49 movies. So I thought we would go through and take a look at some of the best movies out there. Don't worry, we'll get to that big list. I thought we would start off today's show, though, by taking a look at the Monday's box office report, because it is Monday, and let's go over to the Box Office Mojo and see what's happened. For the weekend of June 28th to the 30th, so Inside Out 2 retains the number one spot for 3 weeks in a row, 57.4 million. Number 2, A Quiet Place Day 1. Number 3, Horizon American Saga Chapter 1. That title is almost as long as the movie. Number 4, Bad Boys Ride or Die. And number 5, a Hindi movie, Kalki 2898 AD. Where's it Telugu? I can't remember. We'll take a look at that. But we start off by taking a look at Inside Out 2, retaining that number one spot, breaking over the $1 billion mark, guys. I said it in my straight out of the theater reaction. I was like, please give this movie $1 billion. Will it end up in my top 10 list of the year? Probably. That's good news, right? Some people are boasting that it's time to have the box office return to its former glory. No, I wouldn't go that far just yet. It's going to be hopefully one of the few movies. Well, it is one of the few movies that's made $1 billion this year. But Despicable Me 4 has got a chance. I think Deadpool and Wolverine's got a really good chance. And don't discount Joker 2. Because if Joker 2 somehow manages to recapture that magic, I got my money on that. But that's good news for Inside Out 2, with a budget of around $175 million. People liked it. You saw my straight out of the theater reaction for that. And it has a possibility of maintaining for 4 weeks in a row, because A Quiet Place Day 1 in the number 2 spot with 53 million is going to get chopped in half for about 25 million. And Inside Out 2 will probably get chopped in half again. So there's a big chance, because Maxine is the only other one. Oh, sorry, no, Despicable Me 4 comes out this weekend. So that'll be number 1. No, my bad, sorry. Yeah, Despicable Me 4 will be number 1. Then Inside Out 2. And then probably A Quiet Place Day 1 will be number 3. And then Maxine will be number 4. I would like Maxine to be number 3, but then Horizon is going to drop off the map there. Quiet Place Day 1. Good returns for that in the number 2 spot. 53 domestically, 45.5 internationally, for a worldwide total of 98.5 million on a budget of around 67 million. See, now that's how you make big blockbuster movies, guys. You got to stop with these $100 million budgets, right? And the people that went out and saw it, including myself, 85% by critics, 73% by the audience. If you had any doubts that Joseph Quinn was a good actor, and if you didn't know, if you were worried that he may not handle Johnny Storm well, trust me, A Quiet Place Day 1, he stole the show from Lupita Nyong'o, who also knocked it out of the park. It's just a good movie, man. It's a really good movie. A solid addition to the franchise. My main criticism was that it didn't really add anything new to the lore. Like, I thought it would maybe expand on maybe where the aliens came from. We assume that they're still aliens, right? Because we saw the meteor storm. That's not even confirmed just yet. Maybe the meteor storm woke them up from underneath the ground or something. That still hasn't been fully confirmed, right? There's still lots of room to explore here in this universe. And I like how The Quiet Place Day 1 was kind of like a side, adventure. Kind of like, okay, well, this is what happened in New York City. Joseph Quinn, really good performance. So Bad Boys Ride or Die drops down to the 4th spot from the number 2. And Horizon there, it's a horrible debut. Kevin Costner's 3-hour Western. And I was going to go see it this weekend, But then I looked at my count for my videos. I was like 12 for the month of June. I actually could have been up to 14 because I was going to see Horizon. And then I was going to go out and see Yorgos Lanthimos's Kinds of Kindness at the art house. But then I was like 14 movies. That's a lot to cram into that short little 58-second video that I posted. Guys, yeah, the 3-hour runtime for Horizon hurt it. 11 million domestically, and it had a budget of around 100 million. So it will be a bomb. What are people saying about it? Well, 40% by critics, 71% by the audience. Now, I do like these epic, grandiose westerns that Costner can do. I do want to see the movie, and I will see it. But I was told that it ended on a cliffhanger. And I was like, well, part 2 comes out in like a month and a half or something like that. So I'll wait for both parts to be out before I go and see Horizon, because I don't want to. It's not palatable, right? Knowing that it's going to be a cliffhanger right there. But James, you like Empire Strikes Back? Yeah, I know that. A. Dowd said the film ambles and meanders, going nowhere slowly. By the end of its mammoth runtime, the plot has barely inched forward. And that's my concern with Horizon here. Like, I do like the cast, like Kevin Costner, Sienna Miller, Sam Worthington, Jenna Malone. Good cast. And I will see it, as I said. It's just today I was just like, guys, to try to cram it into that last month. I'll wait for maybe I'll go see it. No, I can't tomorrow because I'm working all day, and then I'm leaving on Wednesday. So it's going to be tight. It is going to be tight. So unfortunate for Horizon. So people who say, well, the box office is back. Well, not quite for Kevin Costner just yet. Not just yet. Okay, so I got to turn on the James, you got to turn on the YouTube chat here. I forgot. My bad. Well, how about first popping out the YouTube chat, James? Ooh, what is that? Sorry, guys. This is part of the show that a lot of people won't be watching. Well, whatever. All right. Is the YouTube chat up? There we go. All right. So, yes, because I want your guys' input as we go through the top 10 of the year here. Artela says, cool, I'll be driving podcasting while driving. Cool. Pfeiffer, big show. Pfeiffer says, my top 3 movies so far: Dune, Planet of the Apes, and Bad Boys 4. Yeah, those will be on the list. Chris Schober says, hey, James, you have your morning coffee yet? No, I am having a Nest tea. Iced tea. I'm having my black coffee, okay. Some rye bread. Oh, nice. We've seen Deadpool and Wolverine trailer with Sabretooth. Yes, I have. And they just released Cobra Kai Season 6, Part 1 trailer. Oh, wow. Arglass will like that too, right? All right. So, we were just finishing. Let's wrap up the box office here, because I did want to take a look at that Kaliki movie. I was toying around with seeing this movie as well. It's got Prabhas in it, right? A modern-day avatar of Vishnu, a Hindu god who is believed to have descended to Earth to protect the world from evil forces. Deepika Padukone was also in that, right? I'm sorry if I'm butchering her last name. I need to look up her last name. Who else was in that? Yeah. All right. Why am I not? Kalki, sorry. I'm not. Yeah. We're going to pull that up here. Sci-fi action, 2 hours and 50 minutes. That's standard for a Hindi movie. Right? Is it Hindi? Yeah, Hindu. No? Disha Patani's in this. Cool. A lot of big people in this one, right? The trailers, let's be honest here. They looked interesting. They used a lot of green screen stuff. Kalki is Telugu, okay. But it was big enough to bust through in the North American market here. But as you can see, they use a lot of volume, a lot of green screen stage stuff. Prabhas there. It is intriguing. I am curious about this. Hopefully it's better than Rebel Moon Part 2. But it's got like the same aesthetic as Rebel Moon. At least for me it does. I am curious about it though. Whenever I got time for it, I do want to check it out. All right. Arglass says my favorite movie so far: Monkey Man, Boy Kills World, Kingdom of Planet of the Apes, Bad Boys Ride or Die. Mainly action. A Quiet Place Day 1 was cool on first viewing. Yeah. We'll get into some honorable mentions. Boy Kills World was on the list when I initially put it there, when I made it up last night. Monkey Man was also really good, yeah. All right, is that it for the box office? I think there's nothing else here to dissect. Giant and Juliet 3, Daddy-O, yeah. Kudos to Inside Out 2 for making the $1 billion mark, though. Bad news for Horizon. Those are the main two headlines. All right, let's get into the list. Now then, because this is a big list. Let's shorten that up. And I want to remove some of these tabs because I got a lot of tabs open today just on my browser. All right. And you need to pull up that, James. Let's pull up our where is it? PowerPoint. There we go. There we go. Now we're looking good. Okay. This will be cut out and put up on the channel later on. If I can. Yeah, that looks good. Ready? Yes. My top 10 movies of the year so far for 2024, guys. All 10 movies ranked the best. And we start off by taking a look at some honorable mentions. Atlas on Netflix will be on some people's worst movie of the year, but I wanted to give it a shout out because I really enjoyed this film with J-Lo. I had lots of fun with this, and I want to go back and revisit this because I was just pleasantly surprised that she was doing a sci-fi movie like this with like mech robots, and I had lots of fun doing a full reaction to this on the channel, and I want to give that a shout out. I know a lot of people didn't like it because there's a lot of J-Lo hate, but I was pleasantly surprised by it. Another Netflix movie that I was surprised with was Millie Bobby Brown's Damsel. Yeah, it was a really fairy tale-ish, but I kind of liked her story of overcoming adversity of, betrayal and learning to cope and climb out of this dungeon where this fire-breathing dragon is. I thought it was pretty good. Other honorable mentions go to The Beekeeper in January. Statham, kicking ass and taking names. I loved this movie. This movie was on my top 10 list last night, so it got bumped out by something else. But I had lots of fun in the theater with this, and I would look forward to a sequel. I just thought this was a lot of fun in the theater, and if you guys got to see it, I fully recommend The Beekeeper. Other honorable mentions: a horror movie called Immaculate. I really liked this movie. I think this is one of the better horror movies of the year. and put Sweeney on the map for me because I hadn't seen her in anything on the big screen just of yet. I thought it went to some really creepy and dark places. I like how off the rails it went, and yeah, demon babies and cult and possession and all that kind of stuff. And my last honorable mention, Ordinary Angels with Alan Ritchson. If you haven't seen this movie, this came out in July or January, late January, February. Basically, his daughter is terminally ill or ill and needs a an operation, but he doesn't have a whole lot of money because the mother died. So he's a single father and he's very stubborn in his ways. But if you like Alan Ritchson in Reacher, and you're like, oh, this guy, he's got some acting chops. Watch Ordinary Angels because you really get to see him push his dramatic capabilities in this. And Hilary Swank is also in this. It was a feel good story, man, and I think, yeah, I was like, do I have to push this one out of the top 10? But yeah, this is like the definition of a good, solid, uh, honorable mention, right? On Ordinary Angels, good movie, really good movie. So that brings us to our number 6 spot of the year, going to Abigail. Abigail was just a fun horror movie, guys. The little girl in this was really creepy. If you saw the trailers, Melissa Barrera, there's some kidnappers that kidnap this young girl. She turns out to be a vampire and, well, turns the tables on them. It's a fun dynamic. Kevin Durand, who's going to be in this twice now. He's going to be in my top 10 twice. Will Catherine Newton be in my top 10? Maybe not in this list. But yeah, this movie was just a lot of, like, if you like B-movie horror movies from like the 80s, this is like a step up from that. This is on the caliber of like Tales of the Crypt kind of stuff, because it's from the directors of Radio Silence who did Scream 5 and 6. So they know their horror. The dialogue pops. The chemistry between everybody here is awesome. And this little girl is so creepy. Like, she's creepier just like this than she is with all the makeup on. You saw my reviews for it. So that will be my number 6 spot on my list. And moving down to the 10th spot will be Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2. Yeah, that's a new movie that just came out. So, yeah, I really liked Inside Out 2. And I had lots of fun with this. I was pleasantly surprised because you guys know I don't like, well, I tend not to go see kids' movies in the theater, but it was dealt with a 13-year-old who's around the same age as my niece, going through some anxiety issues. So I related to it. Maya Hawke, right there, as anxiety. Really pleasantly surprised by this. I was just kind of like, it still lingers with me a little bit with what their messaging was. And I hope it resonates, and it is resonating with the younger crowds because it's made $1 billion. Um, Going over to the tomato meter here, 90% by critics, 96 by the audience, and it's well warranted. Quick run time, it's like an hour and 36 minutes or something like that, yeah. And it was just a solid good time. Chris Schober says, James, I have a question for you. The new Lord of the Rings 2026 Gollum Andy Serkis character is returning in the new movie. Yes, he will be, because who else is going to be playing Gollum, right? So where are we at? Number 10. Okay, so we're going to go down to the number 9 spot next. Number 9. I saw the TV Glow, an indie movie that, well, is not very audience friendly. It's not a movie narrative where you'll be like, guys, I don't know what's going on here. And it is one of those movies. But this is another movie that has stuck with me. Justice Smith here does a great job. And it's got a really great soundtrack. I listened to the soundtrack. It's in my high rotation right now. The use of the soundtrack is effective because it helps set the tone and helps you get immersed in this weird psychedelic world where is the TV show corrupting these people's minds, or what's going on here? Is it a coming of age story? Is it a coming out story for some people? Maybe, perhaps, but they're the oddballs out, so I kind of related to that kind of stuff. And I think, yeah, the people that saw it agreed. 84% by critics, 71 by the audience. uh, it's just, it's not a normal movie, man, and it's not going to be for everybody. I acknowledge that, but for me, it's my number 9 spot. Next is the number 8 spot. Number 8 spot goes to Hitman. This is the one that knocked out The Beekeeper. The Beekeeper was going to be number 8, but I decided I was going to go with Hitman, a Netflix movie with Glenn Powell, Adria Arjona, a rom-com where he's pretending to be a hitman to get criminals like who want to hire hitmen. So it's kind of like a sting operation. And ends up falling in love with one of them. The movie does get a little audacious towards the end, and it is steamy at times. But Glenn Powell was very charming in this, and I was just laughing throughout. This movie was hilarious. It had very funny moments in it, but it also showed the range of what Glenn Powell can do as a leading man. And when you see this, you'll be like, well, I don't know if he can handle that. Well, trust me, don't worry. This guy's got it in spades. He's going to be our next big, huge movie star. And I'm fully on board with that. Hitman was a great fun time at the theater. And I know that it was based on a true story and stuff like that. They took some liberties with that. You don't worry about that, because it's just like, you're just fully immersed in having laughs. 96% by critics, 91 by the audience. So I would totally recommend Hitman in my number 8 spot. Now we're going to get into some fun movies, guys. These next ones are just kind of like, this next one is just like this Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire. I know that some people will be like, James, how can you put the movie like this? I'm sorry, I had fun with this. I was like, okay, as long as they keep it on the monsters, I think we'll be good, right? And that's what they did. A lot of it was Kong in the Hollow Earth looking for his other peoples. And then, yeah, seeing Kong and Godzilla team up, they did it very naturally, where it's like they see each other again for the first time and they fight again. And it's got like some big scope to it, man. I had lots of fun with this one. And I think most people who went out to see Godzilla X Kong agreed, because it made a lot of bank at the box office. 54 by critics, whatever, but 91 by the audience. A lot of fun with this one. Mark Horror Mode. The script, there is a plot, but it's preposterous tosh? Preposterous tosh. And it makes no sense, but it doesn't even try to make sense. Stuff. Roar said he didn't like it, but whatever. Just a whole lot of fun. And I want to see it again. In fact, I think it is on Max right now, right? I think I saw it on Crave. So if I wasn't going away, guys, we would be watching this movie as a full live watch along. Could I try to squeeze it in tonight? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. We'll have to see how busy I'm getting, because I got to pack, because I'm working all day tomorrow, so I don't have a whole lot of time to pack tomorrow night. Or maybe tomorrow night we can watch it. I don't know. We'll see, because I do want to watch this one with you guys, because it was a whole lot of fun. Where did Godzilla X Kong rank on your guys' lists? Let me know. So that brings us, those are the top lower 5. Number 6 is Abigail. Number 7, Godzilla X Kong. 8 is Hitman. 9 is I Saw the TV Glow. And number 10 is Inside Out 2. That brings us around to the top 5. Nunchucks, baby, king. Yeah, Bifer says there in the live chat. Okay, top 5. Here we go. Top 5 for me. In the 5th spot is Society of the Snow, a movie that we saw on Netflix in January. And I know that it came out limited release in December last year, and it got all the awards for this year. But we saw it here in January, and it's a good movie. It tells the tale of the soccer team that gets lost in the mountains in a plane crash. But it's an incredibly well crafted film. The visuals in this are absolutely stunning, and it's got great acting. And it taught me one important lesson: when you watch a foreign movie, always watch it in its original language. Because I got a bit of a slap on the wrist by fans watching this, and it was a very well viewed video for us. But I watched it in its dubbed version, and people were saying you should have watched it in its original Spanish. Uh, so that's where that lands. Society of the Snow in the number 5 spot for me. I feel pretty good about that. It's still a great movie, and it still resonates today. There's still a lot of people requesting um, people's reactions to it, and the people that did see it, as I said, it won awards or was nominated for best foreign film. Right, 90% by critics, 88 by the audience. Really good movie, really solid. I feel good about that in the number 5 spot. It won't be for some people because some people will still classify it for like last year and stuff. But hey, we saw it in January, so there it is. The number 4 movie is Love Lies Bleeding for me. Kirsten Stewart, Katie O'Brien did a fantastic job in this movie. And this one also, just like I Saw the TV Glow, this one still it sticks with me because it is kind of haunting. Um, these girls go down a life of crime. Ed Harris plays like the boss, and it's kind of trippy at times because she takes all these performance enhancing drugs that makes her kind of creep out. But Katie O'Brien is up there as one of my favorite up and coming actresses right now. I keep your eye out for her. We know that Kirsten Stewart is great in this, but it's kind of like they live on the other side of the tracks and they don't pull any punches with this. It's kind of like, oh, is she going to be like tempted to go down this dark path because she loves her or whatever? But it's kind of like they're already on that side, kind of. Because of Ed Harris, sort of, right? He's like lingering over them like a big cloud, and I like the way that this movie wrapped up. It got a little psychedelic. It gets really intense, and I still think about this. I want to own this on Blu-ray, man. um Chris, have you seen this on have you seen this in Walmart or Best Buy? Has been a 4K for this one? Because this one I'd like to have in my library. And there's a bit of a romantic love story there going on. um that works for some people. Like, that wasn't the draw for me. The draw for me was like, this is a kind of a gritty crime drama kind of thing going on here. Not quite on the par of, say, like um, a history of violence or anything like that, but it isn't sort of in that same ballpark, and I like that. And I think the more people who went out to see it kind of agreed. 94% by critics, 82 by the audience. Go see it for the performances, man. For the performances. And the script is really tight in this too. It's still lingering with me. So that brings us to the number 4 spot. And then we're just going to go into the next big blockbusters. This blockbuster season right now. Chris Ober said, and this last week I wanted to see Despicable Me 4. Yeah, I'm probably not going to see Despicable Me 4, but it is what it is. Next, number 3. This should come as no surprise to people. Furiosa, the Mad Max saga. Furiosa, guys. I really like this movie. I know that it didn't land with everybody, but Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth here. I wanted to go see this again, and I probably will try to go see it again before it leaves theaters because it is a theatrical experience, and Hemsworth here is awesome as Dementus. I know that it didn't land with everybody because they wanted to see more Tom Hardy Mad Max, but for me, it was just cool being back in this world, man. And it set the stage very well when it opened up and the credits are just bomb bomb like the Mad Max, the Fury Road kind of soundtrack, right? Um, and it was gritty. This is another movie that didn't pull any punches when it came down to how gruesome it could be. Just a reminder that this world is chaos. And I thought that Annie Taylor Joy navigated it very well. And it's kind of a bummer that it didn't perform at the box office because people who saw it liked it. 90% by critics, 89 by the audience. Uh, there's not a whole lot of bad things I can say about this. Maybe a little bit about the pacing, maybe a little bit about the runtime being 2 hours and 28 minutes. But I'm just like, I'm glad, I'm thankful that Furiosa got made. It's one of the better movies of the year, in my opinion, as you can see in the third spot there. Thumbs up. Number two. Number two. This one almost flipped, guys. Number one and two almost flipped for me. And it still may in hindsight. So, number two is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is a masterpiece, in my opinion. I feel like the performances in this, the visual effects, this is the best visual effects film of the year. Uh, that's why it was in contention for being the number one spot. Because when you see this on the big screen, like the definition in the fur was just, it was mind blowing. And I liked the way that the story went. It was a nice logical place. Years after the events of Caesar, what happens? What happened on this planet, right? Um, did the apes take over everything? Are there still some humans around? And it addresses those issues, I thought, very well. Proximus Caesar as the bad guy, Kevin Durand, did a really great job. And I want to revisit this movie as soon as possible. And people who went out to see it also liked it. 80% by critics, 77 by the audience. Really good acting. Owen Teague as Noah. Wes Ball did a great job. Freya Allen introduced me to Freya Allen. Looking forward to seeing what else she does down the line. Kevin Durant as bad guy. William H. Macy. Peter Mason as Raka. A lot of people like Raka in this one, right? The orangutan. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Good soundtrack. Menacing bad guy. It had that big grandiose scope to it. Look at that. That is so so awesome. And Noah is going to be a great character to follow in Caesar's footsteps is in a new trilogy here. And the movie did well enough at the box office that we're going to see more. We're going to see more of Apes movies, and it's a quiet franchise. It's not big and bombastic like a Star Wars or the Marvel MCU universe, but it's on par with like the quality wise of these Apes movies. It's up there as one of the best franchises going for sure, and I can't say that much more bad about it. So that brings us to the number one spot, guys. If you don't know, if you haven't guessed by now, I think everybody's going to be agreeing about this one, and that is Dune Part Two. Yeah, this is Denis Villeneuve's like cherry on top, right? Uh, God, this movie is so awesome. Like just when I was thinking like, well, it was kind of slow to get going, but then when you start watching it again, as soon as you start watching it again, it's like House of the Dragon. You're like, oh, guys, this is just boring dialogue. No, it's not boring dialogue stuff. This is really good stuff, and it has that tone of House of the Dragon, right? But on Arrakis, on Dune, uh, Austin Butler there knocks it out of the park as Fade Rotha. Highlight of it, production design, cinematography, acting by Timothée Chalamet. Zendaya does a great job. All around, stellar cast. The weakest point for me, actually, surprisingly, was the Baron. Um, Baron Harkonnen was not as vile and as gruesome as I wanted him to be, because Fade kind of took that role, right? So maybe they dialed back on the Baron. Like you heard him killing a bunch of his minions behind the wall, behind the door, but then it was kind of like, yeah, Fade was going to be the gruesome one in this one, right? Um, the Beast kind of goes out a little bit chumpy, but whatever. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I guess some people did get on Christopher Walken saying he's maybe a little bit too old, but I thought it was good. And everybody who went out to see Dune Part 2 pretty much agrees. It's one of the better movies of the year, 92% by critics, 95 by the audience. And yeah, there's not much more you can add to it. I have had my big reviews out. I've had my straight out of the theater reactions. I champion this film. Denis Villeneuve has got these two films, and who knows what's going to happen with the third one, because he's come out and said that he's not going to be following the book for the third movie, so he's going to be writing an entirely new script, which is good because the book gets really weird, guys, with people transforming into worms and stuff like that, and Paul goes really crazy and starts genocide and stuff like that. So people don't like that stuff because he's been built up as the hero right now, right? Our Glass Viking says, weirdly, The Fall Guy does not get an honorable mention. It didn't hold up against my preferred top 10 list either. I had fun with The Fall Guy, uh, but it's got pacing issues for sure. It's got a lot of redundant scenes and then dialogue that tells us what we just saw in scenes. So I had fun with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. I thought they had great chemistry, but yeah, The Fall Guy wasn't quite there. Now, obviously, here in the top 10 movies here, guys, a lot of these will probably get lowered, and maybe even Inside Out 2 will move up as I've been having a little bit more time to stew on it, right? I know that it'll be up there. Inside Out 2 will be higher for a lot of people because a lot of people haven't seen Love Lies Bleeding or I Saw the TV Glow or even Hitman, right? But I think that this is a nice, diverse range of movies. And I know that shouldn't be a mandate, but like if I were to put in all the movies I just had fun with, then yeah, The Beekeeper would be in here. Atlas would be in here. But it was kind of like people would be like, well, what kind of a list is this? So this shows a lot of diversity in here. It shows some indie movies all the way up to the big blockbusters. And as of right now, mid-year, that is that's a pretty solid list. Chris Shower did James did you know that there's going to be when they release Kingdom on the Planet of the Apes on physical. Yeah, we did a story about that. I think it was I can't remember. It was August or something. It's out now, isn't it, on VOD this week? I can't remember. Okay, so I have to reset my files here because we are going to go straight into the worst movies of the year, and we're just going to reset our browsers here because I am okay. So we can close that one, and we bring up. I have two browsers open for the worst list and the best list, and I just want to make sure that I'm not drawing from like too many because it was like 50 tabs open, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of tabs, James. So and then when we're done the worst list, we'll go into the most anticipated list for the next of the year. As I said, this is going to be a big show. We're going to go through a lot here. Okay, so I want to turn off the PowerPoint here, and I want to bring up the worst list. No. Okay, so that's the worst list. Got to change over the posters. Got to change over the poster files. Sorry, guys, this does take a little bit of time to do. It's just easier for me to do it like this and take a quick little break here while I set up the posters because this took a little bit of time to do. Sorry about that. A little bit of a spoiler there. But you guys kind of knew that Rebel Moon was going to be on that list somewhere, right? Somewhere on here is going to be one of the worst movies of the year. And then I got to transfer my transfer my. Hold on here. Sorry, my bad. Transfer over my picks for my Chrome. Okay. Okay, there we go. Good. That's ready. My poster's ready? Here we go. For the worst movies. The worst movies of 2024 are, well, horrific. We've got some real stinkers to talk about here, guys. In the number 6 spot is Madame Web. And I think most people can agree with that. But let's start off the list a little bit easier here. Let's start off with some honorable mentions because some people will agree that, yeah, Madame Web's bad, but uh, what about movies like Argyle, James? A lot of people really didn't like Argyle, and it was critically panned at the box office. Uh, Unfortunately, because I am a huge, I'm unhealthily in love with Bryce Dallas Howard. I gave this one a huge pass. Also, I like Sam Rockwell, but Bryce Dallas Howard, the movie, I admit, gets really stupid at the end. In the third act, things get moronically stupid. Jeez. Uh, so if somebody were to say, yeah, Argyle deserves to be on the worst movies of the year, um, yeah, but for me, Bryce Dallas Howard, she was enough for me to go, okay, I had fun with Argyle. So that's an honorable mention for one of the worst movies of the year. Uh, yeah, Argyle got panned by critics, 33 by the audience, but 72 by the audience. So that's where I'm saying that, yeah, um, there's enough wiggle room there for people to say, for me to say, okay, I liked it. Another movie that will be on a lot of people's lists for worst movie of the year so far will be Civil War. That's because a lot of people just didn't understand what they were going for. A lot of people were saying, well, you know, Texas and California would never be on the same team. Well, that's the point of the movie, guys. That's the point of the movie. If you don't understand that, that's the point that it's trying to make. uh, and it's like, well, it's not realistic because they would never be together. Well, that's the whole point, guys. That was the entire point of the movie. Uh, I like the visual style of it. Alex Garland, the guy who did Ex Machina, 28, and Annihilation. Uh, it was very on the nose at some parts as who's like the president supposed to be and stuff like that. Uh, it'll be on a lot of people's worst movies of the year lists, but for me, it wasn't that offensive. Civil War. It'll be up there for some people. Kaylee Spaney, who's going to be in the Alien Romulus movie. Uh, 81% by critics, 7 by the audience. So, yeah, if you're trying to bring in like a political agenda to this from our reality, then this movie is not going to work for you. You'll be like, oh, I hate this. It's not even supposed to. We went through all that when we went and did our reviews for that. Where it's like, well, that's not what it's trying to do, guys. It's not what it's trying to do. But I thought those were worth mentioning. So let's get into the top worst movies of 2024 so far. And the number 6 spot is Madame Web. And I was more kind to this film when I saw it in the theater. But on hindsight, yeah, it's not a good movie. It's actually pretty bad. And a lot of it had to do with the acting, which kind of sucks because I like the cast. And maybe the acting wasn't as strong because the script was bad. Dakota Johnson was fine, I thought. It was a cool concept, but again, Madame Web is supposed to be a bad guy. And she's not act there's no capacity of this character, this iteration, where I would ever see her become the villain to Spider-Man. So what do you got? Like, what are you guys doing with this movie? And for the most part, anybody who went out and saw this, 11% by critics, 57 by the audience. Dakota Johnson even said herself that she hasn't seen the movie. She doesn't want to see the movie, and in good cause, because in the end of the day, it just wasn't that good. Argos Viking says, so between you, the worst and best list, you must be a limbo list like Argyle was a good movie. Yeah, I thought about maybe doing like a limbo list, but I don't know. We'll see. I'd have it on par with Beekeeper and Atlas, all popcorn movies. Yeah, Argyle was a popcorn movie. Like as soon as you start to think about it, it's just yeah, it falls apart. It falls apart, just like Madame Web. Okay, so we're gonna jump down to the number 10 spot now, guys. The number 10 spot. What was the 10th worst movie of the year for me, in my opinion? That's a movie that we just saw on Netflix called Trigger Warning with Jessica Alba. James, say it isn't so. I thought you were a Jessica Alba fan. Well, I am, but it's not a very good movie. It's actually quite boring. Uh, it goes on for like an hour and 46 minutes. The few action scenes that are in it are well done. She does action well, but there's like dialogue issues. You can see where this story is going a mile ahead, which it's fine. Like it's taking like the Roadhouse type formula of her coming to this town where there's like a corrupt senator, but it's like they make nonsensical decisions at times. Um, and by the end, you're just like, I don't care. I don't care. Uh, Trigger warning. Not very good. And it's kind of a bummer because I like Jessica Alba. 18% by critics, 15 by the audience. So yeah, it's not worth watching, guys. If you're a Jessica Alba fan, that's the only reason why I would say to watch this. But other than that, there's like the action sequences are just like bland. Uh, like the fighting choreography is good, but like the action sequences in context of what the story is bland. Is what I'm trying to say. And it just wasn't as fun as say like the Jake Gyllenhaal Roadhouse. Yeah, there are glass. You're talking about movies that were kind of in between. Like Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse would have been kind of like a limbo movie kind of thing, right? There were parts of it were good, and then there were parts that were not. Just like in this next movie that's on the list, in the number 9 spot is a movie called Tarot. Tarot is not a very good movie. Tarot is a schlock paint by numbers horror movie. Studio horror is what I call Tarot. It's kind of like we made it by committee. And here are all the elements we need to have in Tarot, based on tarot cards that summon these demons. And it's very campy. It's very high schoolish. Kind of like a bunch of high school kids got together and made a horror film, and the script sucks. But we're gonna have fun with these weird creature designs. The creature designs were good, but unfortunately, it just wasn't very scary. And it's a quick 90 minutes at least. But Tarot's up there for my 9th spot. And if you subjected yourself to it, 19 by the critics, 59 by the audience. Tarot, not very good movie. This one's not playing with the full deck, and Cribs too, often from better horror franchises. Yeah, it's entry level horror. If you've never seen a horror movie before and you're like, maybe I want to try to start watching horror movies, Tarot is the way to go. That's the way I would say. Uh, all right, next, number 8 spot. Number 8 spot goes to The First Omen. Oh, James, seriously. Yes, I was not a fan of The First Omen. I know that some people will have it on their best list for some audacious reason that I cannot comprehend. But this is a movie that's also boring. It starts off very boring, of this premise we've all seen before and better in movies like Immaculate, uh, where I guess this cult is trying to resurrect the Antichrist so that people will still believe in the church. Okay. But it just gets ridiculous towards the end. Talking about copying from other movies. If you haven't seen a movie called Possession, this movie rips off a scene directly from Possession, the famous subway scene. And the acting in it is good, but the execution of it's so stupid. She's picking up full bodies like they're paperweights, and it's just like, what are you doing in this movie? It does get gory at times. Like the birthing scenes are pretty gross, but um, it's like, why are we going to a dance hall? Would a nun really go out dancing? Um, there's a good movie in there, but for me, I was rolling my eyes too many times. There you go. That's what I was happening while I was watching the first Omen. Rolling my eyes. 82% by critics, 70 by the audience. So for some reason, this is one where we're going to clash and butt heads. This will be on some people's favorite horror movies of the year, but for me, no. This is just like, ugh. Yep. Next, the next is unfortunately horror is going to be on a lot of this list, and it pains me because I like horror movies, guys. You know, horror is my favorite genre out there, but Imaginary in the number 7 spot was not very good. Imaginary was about an imaginary friend that, well, tries to abduct this little girl into like this nether world so that they can both live together. But the movie spends too much time with this other character trying to come to terms with her past and stuff like that. And again, it's got an interesting concept. And I like how it kind of goes into like this Alice in Wonderland world at the end. But then you see the creature designs and it's kind of like, it's a little too late in the movie to start getting me invested now. Um, it's really clunky. This movie's too clunky uh, from Blumhouse. Yeah, it's not very good. It spends too much with her and her past and trying to weave that into the story, and it felt like it just didn't know what it was doing. 24 by the critics, 56 by the audience. Imaginary, not very good. Not a total catastrophe, but perilously close to being one. Is it too obvious to say Imaginary is simply lacking in imagination? Yeah, it is. Not very scary either. You know, when you see the creature design, you can see the creature design right there. Yeah. So, the worst five, bottom five. Number 6, Madame Web. Number 7, Imaginary. Number 8, First Omen. Number 9, Tarot. And number 10, Trigger Warning. So that brings us to the top 5, or the worst bottom 5, however you word it. And that's going to bring us to, whoops. All right, James, what's going on here? Oh, what happened? I lost my framing there, guys. So long, give me a second. There we go. The Exorcism is in the 5th spot. Yes, we just watched The Exorcism, and it's not a very good movie. The Exorcism with Russell Crowe. I was actually quite offended by this movie with how bad it is because it's got a really good concept again that just failed to execute. Uh, this guy's making a movie about an exorcism, and on the set, it gets sort of possessed. And does it possess him, or does he have addiction issues? And for the bulk of the movie, about an hour and 10 minutes of the movie, it's all about addiction. And is he going to go back to the bottle, or is he actually getting possessed? And there's a good conflict there between the father and daughter. And I wish the movie had stuck with that. But then by the end of it, it just turns into a schlocky, run of the mill uh, exorcism movie, and it reeks of studio interference. Like they got cold feet, thinking that, oh, the story about the father and daughter is not strong enough. We've got to put in some scares, some cheap scares. And the movie starts off strong. It's got a really good opening scene, and then it just really falls off the rails. Like it's so audacious I felt like it was missing scenes, like big chunks of the movie, where it's like, how did we get here? Why are you doing that? That doesn't align with what was happening earlier in the film. Just roll with it. Who cares? And that's where I say that it reeks of studio interference. 30% by critics, 36 by the audience. One of the worst movies of the year, for sure. Well, yeah, let's not bore you with any reviews for that. The Exorcism in my fifth spot. And it sucks because I like horror movies, man. I love horror movies. It pains me. It really does to say that these movies are up there in the worst movies of the year. Next, in the fourth spot, we have another horror movie, Night Swim. This movie wasn't out in, was it January? It was one of the first movies of the year, actually. And this is another movie that has a nonsensical conclusion. Is there a demon in this swimming pool that's corrupting people? Who's the main character of this movie? Is it the daughter? Is it the father? Is it the mother? The movie can't decide. It's got a very interesting premise, but it lacks in execution. It's got Wyatt Wyatt Russell, the son of Kurt Russell, in it. But it's kind of like it was having a tough time figuring out what's the story here. Whose character are we really following? Because the movie deviates at times. You start off strong with Wyatt's character, and then it's the daughter's story for a while, and it's just a big like, what the heck is going on? 20% by critics, 43 by the audience. Night Swim. I was angry when I came out of this one. Yeah. Next, this is going to be a point of contention as well because a lot of people like this movie. But for me, it did not land, and I will justify my reasons. The number 3 spot is Lisa Frankenstein. That's going to be on the favorites for a lot of people, and I don't understand why. This is one where we're going to butt heads because I thought the acting was not great. I thought the script was not great. I thought the directing was terrible. And if you watch this movie, talk about campy high school acting. This movie has that in spades. And I was calling it out. I was like rolling my eyes at how some of the dialogue was being pulled off. And Catherine Newton, I thought she was trying to do the best with it. Carla Gugino was in this. This scene right here, pay attention to the extras in the background in this scene, because this is the scene where I was talking about in my reviews, where you get to see some of the characters. They start off here, and then one character will walk off to the side, but then in another shot, she's back here again, standing. It's like, what? It's a poorly edited film. It reeks of somebody who, well, yeah, this is Zelda Williams' first directing job, and it's not a very good start, in my opinion. And it's about a murderous couple who are cannibals. They like to eat flesh, which is okay. It's not a subject matter that I'm not opposed to, but they are murderers. And the trailers did not really convey that very well. The story doesn't even address all of that very well either, that they're murderers. And they got no problem murdering people. It's supposed to be funny, James. Don't you get it? You just don't get it. No, I get it. It's just, it's not very well executed in the fashion where I'm like, it's like, okay, I understand what you're doing, but it's like you've done it in such a way where it's like you've explained it to me like a 3-year-old would. You're missing parts, right? That's the way that I would explain how this movie kind of unfolds. And it's a shame because I like Catherine Newton, who shines in movies like Abigail, but this one's just it's not very good, guys. It came out in February. The costuming was probably the best part of this. For me, yeah. And I'm going to be in the minority on this one because people who saw it, liked it. It's probably going to become like a cult hit for the younger audiences. 51 by the audience, by the critics, though. Yeah, goth. I wouldn't even call it goth. And this is the kind of movie. I saw the TV Glow was on my best list. This is the kind of movie where the soundtrack, like a more dark gother soundtrack, would have worked. But this has more of like a poppy, pop. Ooh, we're having fun type of soundtrack, and it clashes with what the source material is about these two people being killers, right? Yeah, it's hard for me to not to rag on it any more than that, but well, not to rag on it, but it is what it is. And I had no fun watching this movie. Like I was this close to walking out of this movie. That's how much I didn't like it. But there are worse movies. There are two worst movies of the year. So what's next in the second spot? The Strangers, Chapter 1. Yes, this movie is an abomination. This movie should not exist. This movie is terrible. Again, Rennie Harlan directed this, and it's got two more chapters coming. This Chapter 2 comes this year, but it is it's a remake, a recounting of the first movie that we saw, and doesn't add anything new to the table. It's not scary. This is the type of movie that would benefit from visceral horror, like seeing people getting gutted. Maybe a little bit of not as rated X version uh, scenes like we saw in House of Dragon last night, but it would have maybe benefited from something like that to help get you down into that visceral. Oh, we're watching a very adult theme thing here, but this is so tame. This movie's so tame you could watch it on primetime television, and they wouldn't have to edit anything out. Maybe somebody getting stabbed, but that's it. Uh, it's very entry level horror, but it's if you've watched Strangers before, then this movie it's like pulling teeth. Madeline Pesh does a great job with what she was given, but the strangers are not scary. And this movie is like, hey, there's a vehicle right here. We can get in it and drive away. Now let's just run past that into the woods. It's like that stupid. Stupid things like that. Oh, there's a strange noise outside. You know how in Scream the killers made fun of that? Oh, why don't you just go outside and investigate a strange noise or something? Well, Strangers Chapter 1 has that in spades. It's like, oh God. Yeah, I do not want to revisit this. I'll be like trying to force myself to go see Chapter 2, but I'm not looking forward to it. And that's my second pick. I think it got pulled apart by the critics as well, right? 22% by critics, 44 by the audience. Not a lot of redeeming factors in here. Not a lot for The Strangers Chapter 1, which brings us around to our worst movie of the year. And this should come as no surprise. It is a Netflix film. Snyder fans won't like this, but it is Rebel Moon Part 2. And for some reason, I do not have the poster up on that. Did not carry over? I thought it did. We saw it there. Anyway, oh well. Rebel Moon Part 2 is my number one. And guys, I'm speechless. This one left me speechless because it was getting panned by critics even before we saw it on Netflix. And I was like, do I really want to watch it? Because I didn't really enjoy the first film, but it is Zack Snyder. This washed out color palette throughout the first 45 minutes of the film did not work for me. Ed Skrein as the bad guy was a huge waste. Uh, they're talking about the spirituality of farming grain for the most part of it, right? For the first 45 minutes. And like in a futuristic world, that doesn't work for me. And it sucks because I like Sofia Boutella as an actress, but it was blatantly clear in this one that she's not a leading actress. And it sucks. And I think she can still, I think it's in her to do it. But Zack Snyder was not good enough at pulling that performance out of her. I would have workshopped with her for a lot more. I would have been like, okay, we're going to go through these scenes again and again. Try something different. Um, like, you know how Tom Hardy tries to do something different with all of his roles, other if he's talking like this in Bike Riders, like that kind of thing. Experiment. Because if the role is bland, that's why Tom Hardy does those kinds of things, right? To add different levels to it. And I think she could do it, but uh, this is just uh, uh, lots of people who saw this were not happy with Rebel Moon Part 2. 15% by critics, 48 by the audience. The Snyder fans probably pulled this up. There are the diehard Snyder fans out there that will die on this hill, and they shouldn't, because it is not a very good movie, and that's pretty much all I got to say about that. So, what is the worst movies of the year for you guys? Let me know your list in the comments below. Is it Rebel Moon Part 2, Strangers, and Night Swim, Exorcism? Did you see a lot of the movies, any of these? Let me know in the comments below, and we will talk about it. Chris Schober says, did you know they're going to do an imaginary sequel, James, in the works, but not doing it right now? I don't know about that. Are you getting a copy of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, James? Yes, I will be. I'm going to be looking for the 4K version of that, because when I come back from my vacation here, I will be acquiring a 4K television. Uh, so I'm going to get a 4K player as well. Yeah, not looking forward to the sequel of Night Swim. Yeah, Night Swim was terrible. All right, so those are my best and worst list, guys. Those will get chopped out and put up later on. I'll put the Rebel Moon 2 poster there. But I thought that we're sitting at an hour and 9 minutes. Thought we would just briefly look at what's coming up for the rest of the year and see what's on people's most anticipated lists. And what's going to be on my most anticipated list. Starting here in July. I know that a lot of people are looking forward to Despicable Me 4. Beverly Hills Cop, Axl Rose, not so much. I'll watch it when I come back. Or maybe I'll watch it on the plane. I don't know. Maxine, I'm looking forward to. Maxine is one of my most anticipated. It's getting good buzz. The third movie in the Pearl and X trilogy. Fly Me to the Moon looks interesting because of Scarlett Johansson. Long Legs is another horror movie. So we got some good horror movies hopefully coming up here in July. Maxine and Long Legs. I'm coming back in time to watch Long Legs. So Long Legs and Maxine will be my first out of the theater reactions when I come back. And we'll be back next Thursday night, I think. Not this Thursday, but the Thursday after that. No, I'm coming back on that Thursday. We'll be back on the Friday. But we'll have a few shorts and stuff coming up. Uh, so for July, Long Legs, Fly Me to the Moon, Maxine, Twisters is also in July. Looking forward to that because of Glenn Powell. Excuse me. uh, Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously, will finish this out for July. That's another big one, right? Um, yeah, that's going to be a lot of people's number one most anticipated movie of the year, Deadpool and Wolverine, because of the cameos. And as Chris Schober said there in the live chat, we got to be careful with these TV spots now because they're kind of revealing too many cameos. I would have preferred to have had that Sabretooth cameo fresh in the theater. August brings us Shyamalan's Trap. Curious about that one. Um, Josh Hartnett, right? Borderlands. That one is going to be dicey. Cuckoo. Yeah, that's that horror movie with, what's her name? What the heck is her name? Hunter Schafer. Dan Stevens. Cuckoo. Looking forward to that. It ends with us. Coraline. Alien Romulus is in August. That's another one I'm looking forward to. And then, of course, if you went out and saw Horizon, Chapter 2 comes out in August. Nobody will. There, Costner said he wanted to do like 6 Horizon movies or something like that. That's not happening. Alien Romulus, though, I think is up there as one of my most anticipated. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna do a list of this. I'll do a list of this and put it out later. The Crow, I'm curious about. Blink Twice is actually up there. More than The Crow, I'm more interested in Blink Twice. That's a Channing Tatum billionaire come to my weird island and I'll do all these weird experiments on you movie from Zoe Kravitz. They listen, you gotta believe. Beetlejuice in September. Yeah, that one I'm kind of curious about too. That's not going to be $1 billion or anything, but it'll be a nice trip down nostalgia lane for some of us. Killer's Game, Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil is one I'm not looking forward to at all. They've been playing Speak No Evil in front of every horror movie. That's that James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis remake of the Swedish one. Was it Swedish or was it Norwegian? Uh, they got to put out a new trailer because that old trailer's not doing it any favors. It spoils the entire movie. It does. It's kind of like, here's some friends. Are they weird? Yeah. Are they going to torture and kill us? Yes, because that's what happens in the trailer. Also in September, we got Old Guy, Transformers 1. That's late for September. Transformers 1 would do better in the summer so kids can go see it. Megalopolis is also in September. I want to see that. Never Let Go. That's that Halle Berry horror movie. That's kind of like a variation of Bird Box and A Quiet Place, a bit like that. Can't leave the cabin. You got to be tied to it, otherwise these strange things come and take you. Looking forward to that. Joker Folie Due in October. That's another one I'm looking forward to. Don't really care about Terrifier 3. But James, you like horror? I know, I'm sorry. I'm more looking forward to Smile 2, but because you guys know that I'm a big Naomi Scott fan. And I don't expect it to be very good. I'm not thinking that it's going to land with people. People will say that it's. I don't think it will be very good. So, but I'll still watch it. Venom: The Last Dance is kind of a curiosity. I like the trailer. I like the trailer for Venom: The Last Dance. What else we got here? The best Christmas pageant ever. Heretic. That's that Hugh Grant horror movie. That one I'm looking forward to as well. Good trailer. Not looking forward to the red one. God, I was not kind to this trailer. I was not kind to this. J.K. Simmons is a missing Santa. Because I didn't think it was going to be magical or mystical or full of CG schlock. Gladiator 2 is one I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping that Ridley Scott returns to form, mostly because of the cast. Denzel's going to be playing like the bad guy in this one, so thumbs up to that. Moana 2. Wicked, I'm looking forward to. Wicked, those trailers do play well because of the singing. Cynthia Eviro. And I do want to see what Ariana Grande can do as an actress. In December, we got Night Bitch. Craven the Hunter's not there. Craven the Hunter got pushed last year, didn't it? Or is Craven still coming out this year? It says it's here. I don't know. Who knows? Craven got pushed to next year, guys. It's like next October or something. It's like it got pushed that far, right? Ah, and War of the Rohirrim's not this year, is it? That one I'm looking forward to. That's that animated one of Lord of the Rings. Mufasa, not really looking forward to. Sonic 3, not really. The Fire Inside, Nosferatu, I'm looking forward to. Not a whole lot of Christmas movies. Like Christmassy type movies. All right. That's all I got in the can for today, guys. How long have we been going? An hour and 17 minutes. Let's go out to the Twitterverse and we'll round this out. See if I missed anything. See if any trailers dropped. Kinds of Kindness. I heard that it got too weird. He went too artistic with this one, and that it didn't land with everybody. The fear of him going, Bo is afraid, like Ari Aster did, but with Yorgos instead. Yeah, Abbott Elementary. First look at Paul Mescal and Gladiator 2. That means we're going to get a trailer soon, guys. We're going to get a trailer for this soon. He's ripped. New trailer for Trap has been released. Okay. Daisy Edgar Jones and Paul Mescal. Yeah, we looked at that previous coming up. New poster for Trap. Maxine. Really good buzz about this movie. Hearing really good buzz with this one. Paul Mescal. Another shot of Paul Mescal. Joseph Quinn in Gladiator 2. Pair of brothers who rule the decaying and corrupt Rome. Wow, he's really transformed, eh? Paul Mescal. The first trailer for Gladiator 2 will be released July 9th. Okay, so yeah, we forecasted that. Connie Nielsen for Gladiator 2. Yeah, I'm on board with I'm on board the Joseph Quinn train, guys, because of A Quiet Place Day One. Denzel, our first look at Denzel is the arms dealer, right? Look at the costuming. The costuming in this is going to be stellar. Like the fabrics that they use and stuff. And Denzel playing a bad guy kind of thing. He one of the best actors out there, right? For sure. He's in my top 5. Pedro Pascal, Saoirse Ronan. We need more of her. Happy birthday to Leah Sadu. Halle Bailey. She just had a kid, right? She just had a baby. If she did, wow, look at that stomach. I liked her as Ariel, guys. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I liked her. I thought she did a great job. Emmett Corwin. Gina King. Julia Roberts at Taylor Swift's concert. I don't want to see what's under that kilt. God, is that a full kilt? It's like a short kilt. All right. Looks like there's not much. Not much. Okay. So, yeah, guys, as I said, I'm going away on a trip. So, we will, tomorrow, I'm going to be recording shorts for the rest of the day that will release staggeringly throughout the time that I'm away. Tomorrow night, though, we will be watching episode 6 of Acolyte, but I'll miss episode 7. But when I come back, we'll do 7 and 8 together. Watch the finale, and then hopefully that'll be it for the Acolyte, because I'm at my wits end with that series. Yeah, see, they're listing. There's just too much TV spots for Deadpool and Wolverine now. Final trailer for the Long Legs. Looking forward to that. All right. And yeah, then they got that Trap trailer. to see what Jeremy said about House of the Dragon season 3. Very X-rated stuff, eh? I went back to make sure that my eyes didn't deceive me, but it is like, you know how they do like softcore stuff of, and it's just people, like, you can tell they've got padding on in their crotch or whatever, and they're just going through the motions. But this actually showed something in the mouth, and I was a little bit shocked with that for a show. Um, it is a good show though. That ending scene, that ending scene where they were talking around the prayer circle thing, it's probably one of my favorite scenes of the series so far. Yeah. Nice top movie list, James. Yeah, thanks, Bifer. Yeah, we're rounding out. We're done for today, guys. Come join us for Acolyte tomorrow, and then a bunch of shorts to come out later on. Hit that thumbs up button, guys. Happy Canada Day if you're here in Canada. I'm going to go for a barbecue later tonight, so there you go. See you next time, right here on Mirror Domains.